Hi, everybody. Welcome to the emerging stage. We're excited for today, for our roundtable, and to have this opportunity to share presentations from a number of startups today. My name is Farashte. I'm with Techstars, and I'll be moderating the session, but you'll be hearing mostly from different founding teams. First up, we have Kevin from Takachar. I will be bringing up on stage, and he'll give you a brief 5-minute overview on Takachar. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the emerging stage. We're excited to have you here. We have a number of presentations ready for you from a number of startups. First up, we will be bringing up on stage for a 5-minute overview is Kevin from Takachar. We're excited to have him here, and I'll bring him up on stage in a second. Here we are. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Lovely to have you here. If you've got anything to share, we can bring that up on screen. In just a second, here we are. And the stage is yours.
Great, thank you so much. Honored to be here. I am the CTO of Takachar, and I'm going to tell you a story of how we turn trash into cash. So more than 4 billion tons per year of crop and forest residues are being burned in the open. And a lot of that also causes catastrophic wildfires. This is a conundrum to us because these residues can serve as a renewable feedstock, whether for biofuel or chemicals or fertilizers, and yet a lot of them is not being used today. It turns out that most of the biomass residues today are often very loose, wet, and bulky, which makes them very expensive and difficult to transport and centralize for conversion. So what Takachar is developing are small-scale, low-cost portable systems that can latch onto the back of tractors and pickup trucks, and that can deploy to rural farms and logging landings to locally upgrade and densify the residues on site into higher value chemicals and fertilizers, and without requiring any external fuel and energy. This was developed as part of my PhD work at MIT, which we are exclusively licensing from for commercialization. So what are some of our output products we can produce from waste? Well, it turns out that we can target customize different types of products, ranging from fertilizers, filtration material, to higher grade chemicals and biofuels. Initially, our beachhead market will be in the fertilizer sector and specifically focusing on farmers tilling acidified soil. To understand this beachhead market a bit better, let's meet Mr. Kibushi, who is a smallholder farmer that currently uses a lot of synthetic fertilizer, which ends up actually degrading and acidifying his soil. For farmers like him, what we could do is that we can turn his residues on site into a carbon-rich intermediate that's then mixed with nutrient blend to complete as a standalone fertilizer. And right now in our pilot process, we sell this back to the same communities via the existing distributors. And what we propose to him is that at the same price that he paid for the fertilizers, we increase his yields by 27% on average and their income by 50%. And right now we are working with around 5,300 farmers like him, and here's what they have to say. As you can see, one of them says after switching to the Safi product, they have seen they've never had to worry about putting enough food on the table. And at the same time, they got more income in essentially for additional services for the family, essentially lifting them out of poverty. The bigger vision, though, of our technology is that we can build a self-sufficient rural communities for bioproduction. So imagine we have different types of input materials, and knowing the output bioproduct market in the local geography, Takachar, we can deploy the fleet of reactors and communicate with them in a real-time fashion to coordinate and customize production in a way that optimizes local community. And not only that, but we also have a significant impact both on rural livelihood creation as well as on pollution reduction and carbon removal. With that, I will thank you for giving us the stage and hope that you share our vision to turn trash into cash.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Kevin. And appreciate you sticking to the time. For everyone who's here in the room, you'll be able to meet Kevin again in the expo booth after closing remarks on the main stage. With that, Kevin, I will send you backstage and line up our next speaker. Thank you, Kevin. Next, we have Julianne, who is joining us from Nosa Data. I will bring her up on stage, and we are live.
Perfect.
Hi,
Thank you very much.
If you have anything to share on screen, please do. And
I'm shared. Can you see it?
Absolutely. And with that, your time starts.
All right, thank you. So I'm Julianne. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Nosa Data. And what we do is we make ESG easy for companies. So ESG has absolutely become a must-have for companies over the last few years. And the reason why is because of pressure from many, many, many different external stakeholders. Investors put on pressure, competitors put on pressure if you want to stay up to par in your competitive landscape. There's hundreds and hundreds of incoming regulation related to ESG and ESG disclosure. And it's also important for attracting talent and retaining customers. To get a sense of what's going on in this market, disclosure increased 363% between 2019 and 2020. Currently, 91% of investors are looking at ESG data and non-financial performance in their decision-making. And strong disclosure can actually mean a 10% reduction in cost of capital for a company. But it's a total mess from a company's perspective how they deal with it. They're doing a ton of repetitive work to multiple different frameworks. It's super manual and error prone, and data is literally collected across dozens of internal stakeholders via email and like Excel. And they're really not sure how to respond. They didn't need to do this even a few years ago, and now they have this huge pressure and they don't know what is best practice. So what we do is we help companies with this end-to-end process. We give them dynamic templates to end the duplicative work. We automate their data collection flows across all of the different stakeholders they need, and we provide peer benchmarking and guidance for every question they have. We're everything a company needs to stay on top of ESG, from collecting, reporting, and benchmarking. And now I'll show you a quick look at how we work with one of the specific ESG frameworks on the market. So this is a framework focused on workforce topics. There's around a dozen frameworks that a company needs to worry about. We show you what you need to do in order to actually pay attention and respond to that framework. We help you monitor and track how you're collaborating across your different team. You can assign, you can flag, you can go through. You can go and actually do different levels of admin if you need to get contributions. So a popular use case was, say you need to get diversity data from the HR department, but you don't want them opinionating on the governance structure and management. You can go collect that data, ingest it, and then bring it through the internal approval processes. And then we'll give you guidance on each question of exactly what's needed. We'll give you example responses. If you have any historic data, we'll show you the historic data. We'll show you alignments to other frameworks, and even map your competitors' responses as you go through and respond. We also help companies understand how they're doing against major rating agencies so that they can then focus on like what their competitors are disclosing that they're not to improve. And we give analysis of shareholders. So this is huge for accessing capital. So you can run your shareholder list against our software, and we'll tell you what commitments your shareholders are making so you can do a better job of predicting how you need to be doing your disclosures in the future. To get a broader sense of the ESG stakeholder landscape, these are all the key players for companies. So it's just dozens and dozens of different people a company needs to pay attention to. And this is just like now, and it's growing each year. So you have the frameworks that typically you need to report to on an annual reporting cycle. So that's just annually, you need to put that out by your response. Initiatives are then slightly different, but again, more work from the company perspective, which we help to deduplicate away, which would have specific response periods for a best practice company to do. And then in addition to this, you can get ad hoc requests from different rating agencies to provide specific information. And then other stakeholders, such as regulators, asking for this and requiring you to submit data. Clients, we hear it's increasingly common to get actually procurement questionnaires related to ESG data in order to onboard, especially with large clients. And then even more than that, stock exchanges are introducing listing requirements. Employees want to look at this, advocacy groups put pressure. And so this is just hitting companies from so many different angles. We have one freemium platform, so we're the official platform for the Workforce Disclosure Initiative, and we have hundreds of publicly listed companies using us, and we're happy to onboard anyone who wants to see that. And then you can also toggle on any of the other frameworks that we support. And we view ourselves as one platform to manage and plan your company's ESG. So if you want to get in touch with me, my email's at the bottom of the screen. I would love to talk about any companies who want to use us for your company disclosure. And also we're just starting a seed fundraise right now, so happy to talk to any investors too. Thank you. Where's stop share?
I was on mute. Sorry about that. Thank you so much, Julianne, and thank you for being sticking to the time. That was fantastic. For anyone who'd like to connect with Julianne, please do so at the Expo booth after closing remarks on the main stage. And with that, thank you, Julianne, and we'll be back to backstage as we welcome our next speaker. Brilliant. Next up, we have Rob from Prognostic, who will tell us more about his company. Rob, if you've got anything to share on screen, please do. Here we go. And your 5 minutes start now. Rob, I think we've got you on mute, unfortunately.
Sorry.
No problem. Happy to start the timer over. And we're seeing your backdrop. We've lost the deck. If you could bring that back, please. Perfect. We are all set. See you in 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. So we are Carbon Analytics. We help companies achieve carbon neutrality. I'm one of the co-founders and CEOs, Shravane Balabhaskar. Really excited to be here. So in short, we are addressing one of the biggest problem that we face currently, which is climate change. It's an existential threat. But today, more than ever, businesses need to understand their true carbon footprint. And that's because of various different reasons. But predominantly, one of the things that's effectively moving this market is there's increased amount of pressure from regulatory bodies, consumer behavior patterns, residential behavior patterns within cities, and financial markets. And industries have long been prime contributors to greenhouse gas emissions. And in fact, over 73% of emissions directly come from energy consumptions by asset. So if you really look at the problem at its whole, asset-intensive sectors like industrial have been having high cost of asset ownership. And with that sort of 73% emissions, as you look deeper into that supply chain, 80% of the emission, it's estimated, that actually comes from that supply chain doesn't get reported and it's not accounted for. So the largest component of emission is also the least measured and least visible. This is because there isn't a lack of infrastructure. There's a lack of infrastructure along that. So to take, for example, in automotive industry, and you look through the components that sits within a car, a battery pack has got a significant amount of contribution towards how much of emission it creates in making a vehicle. But it doesn't stop there. As you look through that value chain, you can follow that trend all the way right up to the mining, and you can recognize the significant component of emission that happens through that value chain that doesn't get recorded and reported on. So the problem herein lies is that how does that information effectively transitions? Well, that's exactly where we come in. Think of us as the plumbers. We call ourselves the data plumbers. If oil is in a very bad analogy to climate change, if data is oil, then we're the plumbers that move that data across from one stream to another. So in simplicity, what we are is we are a carbon tracking and intelligence platform for granular physical assets. And what we mean by that is that we specifically address assets that businesses own by connecting and collecting the data at an asset level, and then we calculate emissions based on consumption of energy and fuel right the way from bottom up to then identify target processes and assets that sits within the organization along through the supply chain, and then help reduce and optimize the process first before we address any residual carbon offsetting that's required. So we use a varied amount of technologies to do that, but underpinning everything is our single data model, which is integral to the way in which we're connecting various industries and passing this sort of information and the data through that value stream. We then use our calculation engine, which is also combined by different databases that we connect in to effectively drive that. One of the things that we put forward to our customers is the smart scoping system. That helps an organization trying to understand exactly where those emissions are coming from through a hotspot across their supply chain modeling, and then we can specifically target the areas where the emissions for within the organization effectively come from. So for us, it's very integral to enter into an original equipment manufacturer. And the way in which we scale is effectively through the tiered supply chain. And this is really core to our business model because we're only working with industries with really large, complex supply chain models. And the reason we do that is because that is the reference to the scale in which we are looking to grow. This tool effectively standardized the way in which organizations report GHG, but it also carries an alignment to their suppliers individually, so they can bring deep strategic alignment within the business objective of our customer, while reporting is done on the right boundaries across a multi-tiered supply chain system. So it's rather something that we see that information needs to be passed all the way through. From our point of view, in terms of platform features, we have a lot of features very specifically around addressing Scope 3. That's the creme that we want to address, how we help organizations break through the leverage and add additional layer of that analytics to build a deeper understanding of emissions that sit within their processes, which is not currently visible, that we're looking to surface. We're focusing tremendously on the granular visibility across the process that sits within the organization, and then break that down into the supply chain and the supplier sustainability, and then effectively track to the plan in terms of their ultimate target. And our customers sort of range across different industries, but we have a simple sort of a sign-up model with an organizational and a recurring fee by suppliers that we onboard. And our typical sort of engagement model is something that we've developed called Discover, Deliver, and Deploy, that we try to engage with the customer on an early basis and then establish the baseline and deliver that through our platform in a very restricted timescale that then gives a scalable approach to the rest of the supply chain as well. We have a fairly experienced team, so we bring in a lot of the significant experience to this from enterprise asset management, predictive modeling, and mobility. So we have a deep understanding around sustainability through one of our sustainability leads with over 18 years of experience. And we take an Apple design thinking approach when we are designing products. But think of us really as the plumbing guys. But ultimately, what we're delivering is the product to then demonstrate where we stand. So I'd love to leave one last question, is that what is the real cost of not understanding your true footprint? And if it's larger than you're just reporting for the sake of it, then we have something to help you target active reduction. Come and speak to us in the booth. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Rav. And as he mentioned, yes, catch him at the expo booth after closing remarks on the main stage. With that, I'll move you to the backstage and we'll bring up our next speaker. Thank you so much, Rav.
Cheers. Thank you.
Next up, we have Peter. Peter is from Alchemy Environmental, which I believe you also have something to share on screen. And with that, I will start your time and see you in 5 minutes.
Sounds good. Hello, everyone. My name is Peter Comboris. I am the CEO and co-founder of Alchemy Environmental. We hold patented technology for recycling industrial waste streams into structural-grade, lightweight concrete aggregates. Now, aggregates make up 70% of your standard concrete mix, The rest is cement, water, and air. Essentially what we're talking about here is sand and gravel. Alchemy's solution is able to replace the entire aggregate portion of the concrete mix with a synthetic aggregate product made entirely from recycled waste that can be used in ready-mix, precast, and masonry concrete applications. Our aggregate product offers the same performance as the mined minerals used today, costs less, and is 100% environmentally sustainable. The next slide here gives you a snapshot of where Alchemy's technology fits into the current landscape. All the way on the left-hand side, you'll see current lightweight aggregate production processes, where our competitors are mining shale and slate rock, manufacturing into lightweight aggregate product using the same equipment Alchemy does, and selling it off into the local concrete market. In the middle, you'll see current waste disposal practices. Pretty straightforward. Industrial facility produces waste, they pay somebody to haul it off and dump it in a landfill. Alchemy's solution fits into this equation by replacing the landfill as a disposal option for industrial facilities. So instead of paying the landfill, they pay Alchemy. They receive a 25% discount versus the landfill and become a zero waste to landfill facility, which is a highly coveted title amongst Fortune 500 companies looking to meet their ESG targets. We then take that waste, recycle it over to a lightweight aggregate product that now meets LEED certification standards as a green building material, which is also a requirement on 50% of all new commercial construction projects. So Alchemy gets paid on its inputs and its outputs. Now, aggregate market aggregates are the second largest traded commodity on earth. It's a $100 billion marketplace here in the US. Alchemy plans on first going after the $600 million lightweight aggregate subsector of this space, and then expanding out to the $19 general sand and gravel sector from there. We can recycle over 16 different types of industrial waste streams using our process. Examples of that would be waste from waste to energy plants, coal combustion plants, wastewater treatment plants, waste from mining operations. The list goes on and on. We can recycle these waste streams individually on their own or combine them together, giving us broad feedstock defensibility in our technology process. In terms of competitive advantages, we outperform our competitors on price, performance, and environmental sustainability, as the table here outlines. So what have we done so far? Well, we hold 12 issued patents on our solution. We've already completed the commercial scale pilot testing of our technology and had that independently certified by a third-party engineering firm as being both commercially viable and scalable, where we recycled over 20 tons of industrial waste into aggregates that then passed international ASTM building standards, along with both US and EU environmental regulations, proving that the product's not only structurally sound, but 100% environmentally safe. We're backed and have worked with key partners both in the waste and building materials sector and have been recognized for our work by the European Commission. The team behind this solution is a talented group of industry experts and leaders, starting off with my co-founder and the inventor of the solution, Dr. Sofia Bethanis, who holds a PhD in civil and environmental engineering from Imperial College. I myself have a background in startup business and corporate development. We brought in a key group of advisors from the heavy industrial, waste management, and environmental engineering sector on board to our team too. The next steps for Alchemy in our commercialization process is to first scale our technology by leveraging contract manufacturers, then execute on pilot projects with key partners in the waste and building materials sector, and then go out and develop and build our own plants. As part of that, we're looking for strategic partners to come on board and help us execute on our commercialization strategy. And by working together, we're going to be able to eliminate over 2 million metric tons of CO2 emissions annually, eliminate the landfilling over 10 million tons of industrial waste streams annually, and make one of the largest and most used building materials in the world more environmentally sustainable in concrete. I thank you all for your time and happy to answer any questions later on in the booth.
Super. Thank you so much, Peter. And for ending right before I had to give you a 1 minute warning. So thank you so much for that and for your presentation. I'm sure folks will be delighted to connect with you at the Expo booth after closing remarks. With that, I will move you to backstage and bring up our next speaker. Thanks so much, Peter. Next up, we have Julie. Julie is with us from Recycled Granite. Hi, Julie. I think you've got something to share as well. If you could do so shortly, please.
Let's see. Share screen.
Yeah.
Window. We got it. Okay. All right.
Yes. Here we go. Right. We're all set.
Julie Rizzo, founder of Recycled Granite. So back in the 1950s, an apple a day kept the doctor away. Today, it would take 5 apples to match the same nutrients that were found back in the 50s. Where did all the value go? Industrial farming. Every time we plant a product, it loses nutrients that are kept in the soils, that have been built up in the soils for hundreds of years. So over 1 million tons of granite countertops are sent to local landfills in the United States every single year. These are cutoffs that come from all over, including Brazil, China, and India. They are destroying mountains in these countries to send us the latest color countertop. The positive is that these 500 million-year-old plus stones are filled with minerals, elements, and they also capture carbon. There are 8,000 fabricators who are throwing away millions of these tons every single year. So at Recycled Granite, we established a patented process. We take the raw material at no charge from fabrication companies, sort it into its geological attributes, and create a lapide matrix, a mix of stones varying in sizes. And in this case, size absolutely matters. We package it into different formulas. We are the only globally sourced organic rock dust in the world. It will be distributed in 5-pound bags, 50-pound bags for trades, for landscapers and parks, and our most exciting is the bulk product that will be used for farms to help us capture carbon. So enhanced rock weathering and soil mineralization. When you put stone on the soil, it actively draws carbon out of the atmosphere and locks it away in the soils forever. We've created a patented nutrient-rich laboratory-tested blend that works amazingly. Rock dust could remove billions of tons of CO2 from the atmosphere, scientists say. This is, in fact, one of Elon Musk's top 4 for X Prize. So we already know rock dust works. It's been tested in over 50 studies for the past 30 years, and it increases the nutrient value in any single thing that we're planting. We are right now in a 1-year study with Purdue, and we are excited to share those findings. So we have 4 strategic values. One is to save the fabricators thousands of dollars in disposal costs. We also naturally want to capture the carbon at an affordable price, naturally. And we are growing foods organically by 30% without chemicals, without fertilizers, without herbicides and pesticides, and creating jobs for people in the U.S. who have special needs. Our cost of goods is only $85 a ton. We are looking for a $500,000 investment. We worked with our Techstars and Heritage people in 2019. We have tons of tests that I would be happy to share with you for our findings. I have a very seasoned team of people with over 100 years of experience. We're going to go with seasoned and experienced. And we are one of the very few fourth bottom line companies with major impact: people, profit, planet, and purpose. Our goal is to create jobs, reduce waste, and make the world a better place. Will you help us bring the nutrients back to the apple from the 1950s? I'd love to see you in a booth later.
I think I was on mute that whole time. Apologies. Thanks so much for your presentation, Julie. That was fantastic. I really appreciate you taking your time. For anyone who'd like to connect with you, of course, they can catch you at the expo booth after closing remarks on the main stage. With that, I'll move you to backstage and line up our next speaker, Alexei, who is joining us shortly. So thanks so much, Julie. See you at the expo booth.
Thank you.
All right. I am bringing up Alexei on stage. And he is joining us from Evercity. Hi, Alexei. How are you doing?
Hi, everyone. Doing great.
Good stuff. Last but not least, Alexei will be sharing more about Evercity. I think you've got some content to share with us on screen. Let's see as it comes up for us. There we go.
Okay,
and with that, your 5 minutes start.
Oh, thank you. Hi, my name is Alexei. I represent Evercity, Sustainability Measurement and Investment Platform. Together with my co-founder, Lisa, we have 10 years of experience in managing an impact funds, developing climate projects, and working with impact investors who invest in developing countries. We also pioneered world's first carbon credit transaction on the blockchain back in 2017. So we know what we're doing, and we know what the problems of the market are. We are addressing the sustainability debt market, which is really growing because of many factors. And it grows like 30–40% each year, but it has some problems. Those problems are related to complicated nature of sustainable finance, because it's really hard to structure. You have to hire consultants, and it means that sustainable finance is not accessible for SMEs, and it's really a struggle for institutional impact investors as well. Also, it's a struggle to measure the impact once you invest in sustainable assets, and also trust your counterparty. And this is why we have developed a blockchain platform to issue and monitor sustainable finance. And with this platform, we are introducing blockchain bridged with monitoring tools, significantly raising the transparency of impact measurement, also raising efficiency and lowering costs of sustainable finance issuance. So our product is divided into 3 consecutive parts. First, you can structure your green bond. You undergo screening to understand what is eligible to issue a green bond according, for example, EU taxonomy. Then you create a green bond framework. At the second part, you are able to issue your bond in a digital way. And the third part is related to monitoring according to your framework. The issuance part is based on a unique development that
Hi all, I think we're facing some technical difficulties. Please bear with us. Just a moment. Hi folks, thanks for bearing with us. We have some, seems Alexei might be facing some connectivity issues. We're just checking that, and if you could hang on for a little bit, we will get back to you shortly. All right, folks. Unfortunately, we have to close the stage. Unfortunately, we weren't able to bring Alexi back, but our 2 other stages that are called Growing and Scaling are still running. So I encourage you to check those out. I know there's a lot of great startups presenting there as well, and you can still catch those before closing remarks on the main stage. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to everyone who is presenting here today. Julie, Julianne, Peter, Kevin, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate you all sticking with us through these technical issues. I hope you can catch Alexi, team, and all other founders and teams at the Expo booths. Thanks so much.